Swain, I wouldn't really call it a high damage pick a lot of the times. It's very,
Not
very good
always,
at being
no.
persistent in fights and setting up for a lot of your team. But unless Jet is going for something really, really damage focused, then it is all on Vital. And we saw in game one that it was all on Vital at so many points, and he made those mistakes. He made those oversteps. He went a little bit too far forward, and DFM were able to punish.
It was even deeper. The Swain interacts best with melee champions, and while there are 3 on the side of DFM, they are not the ones you need to worry about. They are not the Azir. They are not the AD carry.
As we are loading onto the Rift for the 4th and potentially final time today. DFM sat on match point from the red side. Sengoku desperate to win this game, to push us to silver scrapes, and to, well, their fans hopefully secure a place in the LJL Grand Final. Reminder, neither team going home today if they lose this series, but you really want to make that spot in the final guaranteed as soon as possible so you can get that preparation going. You don't have to worry about any other matchups. Ebby, maybe getting caught out here as well. Some pass have snuck around the Sejuani, so potent at the level 1, and there is no flash available for the Gwen. Ships in the night as now Ebby will spot out Paz and once. Can interact with them a bit, can interrupt them a little bit. Damn, that was close.
Inches between those creaking hulls. Neither knew the other could be so close. If we blow this game back out, this is a repeat of Spring's Juggernaut match. Sengoku have got on the board this time. This time it took them a whole 3-0 loss and a lower bracket run to even stand up to DFM in their eventual 3-2. Our staff today largely predicted a DFM victory. It wouldn't be a surprise.
I think the great thing about that is that we see the evolution of the LJL as a region, because for so long it's been DFM and then a few rungs on the ladder and everybody else below. But Sengoku are coming up, rising up as this team who in spring and now coming through into summer as well can genuinely challenge against DFM, take games off at them, push them right to their limit. They going to have to pull out all the stops if they want to win this game, though, because looking over at the side of DFM, there are a hell of a lot of comfort picks, and that Gwen in the top lane, the biggest one for me.
It is a sign that our superstar top laner is back and wants to be in fighting form, even though the Gwen got a pretty huge nerf this last patch, a third of her true damage just going missing. Still the choice, still the 1v1 challenge. It's really strong into the Ornn. It always will be stylistically. But to have the LJL top laner, let alone the DFM top laner, on such a 1 versus 1 challenge pick on something that can deal so much damage, it's really, really exciting.
I do find it intriguing that you call him the LJL top laner, because for a lot of people watching, I think he will be the LJL top laner, because it's been so long since there's been an international event where you've got another top laner going from the Japanese region. You'd have to go all the way back to sort of 2020 Worlds with V3, and we all know how that turned out. Not great for our champions at the time. Paz, around about half HP, a little bit less than that in terms of mana steal. On the Wukong, potentially thinking about getting a gank off, but sniffed out by Sengoku's top laner. May not matter, though. DFM could still commit to this.
All right, we're looking to Paz to charge the tower. He's not got much time.
Not got much time at all, as Eddie coming out with the snip, and steal, taking the turret aggro, forcing that TP away from Jet, but he's pretty low on HP as well. Sengoku can't get anything out of this play, and DFM forced out that teleport in the early game, which is massive.
They gain that advantage. It will be present in mid in a CS difference in just a few seconds. And you're shoring up Paz, who's already quite far behind. Once will delay the recall, equalize some of this advantage back. But DFM have swung first, and they gain a small advantage.
And it's towards the top side of the map onto this Gwen, a sort of champion, a style of champion that we haven't seen Ebby have the opportunity to play in this series so far. It's been the Ornn, it's been the Sejuani's champions that he is excellent at, but not the highlight reel champions, not the champions that you make montages of.
And he has so many at this stage. The way that DFM navigate their early game Not total surprise here. The 1 versus 1 will come through. Once has the level advantage. Was
We've
holding
seen
a red
him
buff briefly
body
as well.
steal previously. There's a lot of damage available for the Sejuani. Needs to be careful though. They don't overstep, they don't go too far into DFM's jungle, but with Yaharong resetting, wants fine to play as aggressive as he likes.
By delaying the Azir so thoroughly. They've got the teleport and they kept him out for that invade. Ebby would run down Paz there if he wasn't slightly less valuable than getting the minion wave and doing it again.
But Ebby choosing against that, as we are starting to see a pretty significant CS lead emerge in the top lane. But looking on the other side of the map, Vital and NT have been doing pretty well in bot lane and have managed to engineer this Zeri an early game lead. It's not quite a quadra-kill, which Vital's been getting used to in this series, but I don't know, maybe it'll turn into one.
I wouldn't be surprised if we just kept up 1-4+ multi-kill every single game. And, you know, we've only got 10 minutes to set the record on that one. Oh, no surprise as we go into the early game. DFM, an incremental lead, as they have shown throughout the splits. We saw in the graphic earlier on, while Sengoku had their number in their first meeting. The previous two go DFM's way in the first 15 minutes. And as we go later in this series, it's become more and more the case. Vital and NT pop the heal there from the support and just wander away. Just let Steel know he's been seen and respected.
It's better than dying, Temple. As the
100% better than
100% better than dying. Steel was thinking about a possible move back down to the bottom lane, but is now being bullied around by once again. Yaharong does have the rotate over from the mid lane, so the Sejuani forced out of the back of the pit. And I really like how the early games have changed in these last two matchups, Temporal, because right at the start of this series, both teams going hell for leather, constantly trying to hands check each other as much as possible. And now it feels like they've realized that, hold on, this series is actually important. We do actually want to win this, and we'd rather not throw away advantages on a silly early play without much consideration.
An extra reservation about exactly what you're doing and exactly what your opponent can bring to the table at any moment. Just causing a little bit of a smoother, slower early game without large leads. That 300, largely insignificant across the board. If we have a look at our pathing now, Dragon is up on the board. Steel is in prime position to path all the way down into it. With his bot lane resetting now, that is plenty of time for everything to work out. He'll have mid present as well, a tempo TP. Not possible, but Yaharong will just walk the hard way back with a few extra items, a full mana bar. Jet will hold the same. Sejuani is pathing down now as well. Wasn't fixed, could have gone top there. With this in a few moments. A dragon fight. I don't think we've seen a fight for the first dragon so far this series.
Herald has been the
brewing. Yeah, Herald's been the one. Oh, a little bit of skating.
A little bit of skating. That was a good spell shield from Mutapon there. I believe actually interrupting the Whimsy, so it doesn't get turned into a little munchkin. As I think it's quite funny that both teams warded Herald at the exact same time. It's very clear what has been the defining objective of these early stages. And with Harp level 6 on the Rakan, very important, moving towards that Rift. Herald, Sengoku are a little bit behind the play. I'm not sure if they can get here in time.
Yeah, I don't think they can compete. DFM have shown affinity for the first Herald all split. Something we noticed in our prep last night. They always get the first one, and then they kind of just leave it. We're post objective changes. Not surprising they've gone for second ones as well in this series so far. And despite the dragon being buffed up, you know, offering a little bit more even in the early game, the ability to take it down on your own reduced, the ability to take it down quickly reduced. And it just means everyone is defaulting up to this Herald as Sengoku now started, and everyone's abandoned the bottom lane.
Yeah, observers just highlighting there. A lot of CS being lost.
Just minions. Only minions.
Well, there's a fair few, and if you kill 10 of them, it's basically worth a kill. So whilst we haven't seen too many kills at the top of the scoreboard, if you look at the bottom, we are having some gold leads emerge in favor of specific players. The big one though is Ebby in that top lane, still beating up on Paz on this Gwen, nearly 30 CS ahead. As maybe going to look for a 1v1 here onto that Ornn. Very low on mana, and with the snip, with the need to work with the Ghost as well, Ebby can chase so far forward.
All right, it's just a warning shot for now. Will not convert over into anything. Gets Paz's flash. and just sets a statement from the best top laner in the LJL that he is here to party. He wants this to be his last game. He's ready to go and celebrate, and he's going to do everything he can to try and make that the case.
It's looking pretty damn good so far, but on the side of Sengoku, I feel like they maybe would have wanted to get things going a little bit earlier. The Swain can pop off in mid-game team fights, so I think that first Mythic, really going to be a big power spike for them, and if they can force some fights on that power spike, then DFM could get caught a little bit by unawares, and whilst they do have strong leads in this top lane, and series.
I think it's just huge respect from both teams. They know that if they drop the ball here, it will be everything.
Someone's got to throw the ball at some point. Like, you don't win a game. You don't win dodgeball by just catching. That's not how the game works.
You got to shoot eventually, but transferring possession to your opponent's goalkeeper, generally a risk, especially when that goalkeeper is someone like Steel, someone like Yaharong, who could turn around and engage, could Cyclone, could Shurima shuffle you into the worst of positions, into the gravest of mistakes in your summer split. This has been the build-up now, the story of the year. Sengoku versus DFM. It's always Sengoku versus DFM. Rascal Jesters have fallen by the way. Crest Gaming Act still unreliable as ever. The SoftBank Hawks not living up to their resurgence at the end of the season. Not yet, at least. But from what I've seen of playoffs, I wasn't too impressed. Maybe sandbagging it a little. Who knows? Who knows? Never counted out when it comes to League of Legends.
Definitely not. There's a fair bit of quality on that roster. I'd hope that it's one that stays together for as long as possible, because I think that the ceiling available there is very impressive. And hey, if coming into 2023, we've not got 2 super strong teams in the LJL, we've got 3. I think that's only a boon for the region. Only a W, as the Herald summoned in the mid lane, funneling a couple of fights over towards Jet, 13 minutes, and still no kills in this game. Neither team wants to make that mistake, wants to make that overstep, which is going to cost them the series. Ebby opening up with a needlework onto Paz, and this is what you can do on the Gwen. You can abuse these tank matchups so well. No stun going to come through. It may just be a solo kill, but no. Here comes Steel with the Cyclone to pick it up.
All right, that little conversion at the end. Fancy feedback from Paz kept his health bar high, but his hopes dashed with that fluffed ultimate on the way out.
Offensive ultimate from Harp. Still going to get locked down with the Glacial Prism, but just once on his own. Doesn't have enough engage, doesn't have enough threats to actually take out that Rakan. And with Paz falling on the top side, that is a load of plates going in favor of Ebby.
This is really concerning. Paz might have his mythic, but it's the cheapest of the lot. It's just the early buy when you need to convert your gold elsewhere. Ebby's, on the other hand, Riftmaker just defines the champions that buy it. The damage, further true damage, further healing offers so much. And I can't help but think the next time we see this 1v1 middle cut, it's going to be even worse. But as we see it here, this is the way Ornn Gwen goes. Gwen can approach. She's just going to walk up. She's going to throw some needles. She might hop, skip, and jump around. Half of the miss doesn't really matter. The scissors are dealing true damage. The shroud just making Paz think too much about where to throw his ultimate, giving him too much to think about. Steel converts under the tower.
Yeah, great stuff there from DFM, picking up the first blood and grabbing themselves a 1,000 gold advantage, and that's definitely being utilized. If you look at that top line, Ebby there with the mythic, the boots, and an extra starter item as well, just because he can.
Why not?
Paz is slowly starting to fall further and further behind. Infernal Drake is spawning in 15 seconds. DFM were able to pick up the first dragon of the game. Utapon and Harp trying to achieve a bit of bot lane prio so they can rotate towards the objective.
Will be the Infernal Dragon. That means the Soul is likely to combat ready. Paz is going to abandon the tower. Ebby opening up. The Gwen, just such prowess in the 1v1. We see the Riftmaker cloud summon around her. She just gets a wave. She denies the ability to defend this tower. Paz with no teleport, he's really sweating right now. There's not a lot on the map for him to do when you're stuck so thoroughly. It's really going to cause issues. Harper just using his spellbook there for those confused about who is teleporting down.
And the thing about this top lane matchup is it really encapsulates why we are so hyped on Evie, why we love to talk about him as a player, because throughout this series it's been tank v tank essentially. We've had Renekton thrown there to be a little bit of a bruiser, but nothing that can really just completely break open a matchup. Evie has broken open this top lane matchup. All of those plates going in favor of the Gwen. First tower gold as well. So incredibly accelerated.
Oh,
now
man.
can join these team fights level 11 and just melt through the health bars of Enti.
Straight through the middle. Maybe has transferred his advantage from top lane, and just by walking forwards secures them the dragon. The absolute heartbreak and bloodshed over securing a dragon in this series cannot be understated. Multiple waves in mid, multiple dances, multiple ultimates and summoner spells just burnt just to get a look in. And in this fourth game, DFM so heavily advantaged, they've managed to secure the dragon just by throwing Ebby at your opponents.
Been a pretty effective strategy for them for many years. Detonation FocusMe's top lane and just throwing himself at the enemy team. And
take my shrimp.
oh, there are loads of types of shrimp in the LJL. And
It's your favorite kind of shrimp metal card.
Honestly, this one.
Yeah,
right now,
this one's pretty good.
This one's pretty good. And I find it very intriguing that the way that DFM have been finding a lot of their success in this series are in the sort of slower pace games where they're not fist fighting with Sengoku as much in the early stages. We may have just cast a curse hit again, Temporal, as the observers are going to be slowly panning out as Sengoku focused around this Herald Yaharong. A little bit too far away, though.
All right, Sengoku, even though they're disadvantaged, even though we're talking Ebby up to the high heavens, they want to walk towards the Swain. They want to make the difference.
That's not what you want. That's what you want. Paz falling down in the front line, and Jet with that ultimate running. DFM, they back away for the time being. They recognize that if they don't go into the Swain, they're going to be absolutely fine. Harp finding the knockup with the grand entrance as here comes Steel on the side. No Cyclone available. I'm not sure it's necessary. Can beat up on Jet so hard. 1 kill for the jungler, 1 kill for the mid laner. DFM are here to end the series.
It's looking more and more convincing by the minute. Blue side, you may have won every other game, but a side select not enough to quell the might of the LJL team, quintessential in their domination over years. The approach here is measured. They do not run headlong into the Swain. They take out Paz on his own on the side, and the Cyclone transfers through into the next unit. Sengoku broken into 3. Jet, he just wants to be in combat. His ultimate times out. The patience from DFM, the re-engage from Harp. Steel flank on the side, ever so patient, ever so aware of what the team wants.
And I think this is the issue that we're starting to see with the Swain pick. There is no real need for DFM to be in range of that ultimate, of that demonic ascension from Jet if they don't need to be. Credit to Steel, actually, coming out in that fight, dealing over 3,000 damage on the Wukong. We're starting to understand why this is a pick that has been banned so many times in this series, because it can just warp these games. It can just define so much of how everything is going to be played. DFM has swapped Ebby now down into this bot lane so he can continue to beat up on Paz and maybe grab another tower for himself.
I was about to say, don't mind Ebby. He's just gonna pick up the golden experience that's on the floor. It's rightfully his. Then just continue charging forwards. I'm a bit concerned about the lack of damage from Sengoku. Mythics all through. That's 2 frozen fists. Not particularly conducive to killing your opponents. To crown on the Swain, we've seen plenty of times this series. I don't think Swain's going to be the focal point. You want people to die for you. You want to be a little bit vulnerable. You want to just incite them in. The crown does not facilitate this. Instead, it's going to be on Vital once again. If Sengoku are to come back, as they have come back so many times against DFM, if they are not to repeat the Juggernaut of last year, Vital shoulders are going to have to do all of the work.
And there's a lot of weight on them right now. An Atlas-like performance is what we need from the Sengoku AD carriers. Yaharong Potentially overstepped, but does still have that tower available to him. Summons it himself, uses the ultimate to push back once. And the scariest thing for me, Temporal, that we're seeing in this game is that for 3 matchups, we had DFM with Ebby on a tank. We had them playing a style that we wouldn't normally have associated with them. And in those 3 games, they got 2 wins. They were able to make it work. And now, with a composition that I think is a little bit more recognizable as something that you'd see from DFM in the regular split, they're having their best game so far of the series. So looking forward to potentially the finals, if DFM are able to take this lead and close out the game. Sengoku are going to have a lot of questions to answer, not just in a potential lower bracket game, but if they make it to the final, in that matchup as well.
A familiar path, but with some drastic changes over the last 6 months, over the last summer split. It will not be the same Sengoku that travels up through the lower bracket. I think they are quite likely to do so, but it would be the LJL without an upset or 2. Without a hero from nowhere. As Sengoku fade away into their own jungle, Harp has a deep flank. Ebby will be the front line, will be the pair.
Watch out, grand entrance with the quickness as well. It's an engage, but only from 2 members of DFM, so despite multiple people being locked up, no one taken down just yet, but the damage dealt to the health bars is enough to give DFM position around the mid lane and the Drake as well.
They've done enough to force Sengoku away. They don't even have to take the dragon yet. This mid-tier 1 much more lucrative.
Once going forward, Jet in the demonic ascension as well, but not finding damage onto key carries. Vital using ult, and Utapon getting pulled back into the team. That's the moment. That's what we were looking for from Sengoku. First kill of the fight in favor of the Zerius. Here comes Ebby on the Gwen, but not able to find access onto the carries that he needed to. Steel caught out as well. It is a double for the Zeri. First 2 kills of the game for Vital for Sengoku. They head towards the top side, maybe to grab a little bit more.
They're finally on the board. Vital just held his edge there, held up behind Jet. The Summoner Spellbook, heal, plus stopwatch, enough to keep Jet in combat long enough to be useful, long enough to disrupt Steel's advantage. The Baron has been started. It's a fast one, but DFM are here to challenge.
This is risky, Temporal. Ebby still has the ultimate available in just a little
Paz.
bit. And Paz, so low in the back of the
Paz.
pit, taken out by Baron Nashor himself. Yaharon will claim the kill credit, but that was all the big purple worm. Sengoku, they find the fight, but they fumble the play afterwards, and now DFM back in control.
DFM keep their conversion up by not taking this dragon. They have now taken that gold advantage, that mental advantage, by pushing Sengoku out of the position they had chosen. Now they will convert with the dragon and continue to get a little stronger. This tower at this stage of the game much more valuable. Once sees the counter engage, says DFM can't stand here. Jet is held at bay by Steel for a significant amount of time, but Vital, by coming forwards the max range never move, just gets Utapon. The Sivir is short ranged into the Swain. It is a dynamic that often doesn't go well for the Sivir. With Ebby out of the fight, unable to rejoin. A slow, grinding victory as Sengoku pick off the final members of DFM unable to escape. This Baron wouldn't go their way. And DFM still somehow, after all of that, maintain their advantage.
Just biting off a little bit more than they could chew. Just pushing a little bit further than what was reasonable. We've seen both teams do that so many times over the course of this series, but those mistakes are even more impactful for Sengoku right now, as that's a Zhonya's. That's 2 minutes where invulnerability is not something that Jed is going to possess. DFM didn't see that, though, crucially, so they don't know that the Zhonya's is gone.
It's going to be a really confused DFM in about 20 seconds. Maybe a little bit longer, but that is not the control ward that Jet was looking for, and it's already been cleared away. DFM straight into the river, holding their position around these objectives, making Sengoku sweat, making them work for the approach.
Ooh, it's getting tense, Temporal, as Paz is caught out in the front line and disappears. Where did the Ornn go? That was honestly disgusting. Iconoclasm, almost, as the god falls down in the top side of the river. A 4th death for Paz in this game. It's looking a little bit like game 1, unfortunately. But this time, for Sengoku's top laner and not DFM's, Baron started up. Engage tools not available for Sengoku. They just have to walk into this.
They have the Infinity Edge on Vital. They have some concession prizes. Steel will finish the Baron.
But once isn't able to find anything, as that's the flash forward from Harp with the engage. The Rakan so clean. Vital trying to cut away as much as he can. The movement speed for the Zeri keeps her alive, but Yaharong claims the first kill, and DFM will claim a couple more. Ebby now running down with the Sivers, cuts Vital in half, and DFM find the Baron and a huge team fight.
It might not end the game now, but this will be massive amounts of infrastructure gone from Sengoku. When all of their eggs are in the Vital basket, Ebby looks so strong, just running headlong into the Sengoku AD carry. Nowhere to run. Once the lady with the needlework is ghosted, and with all the excitement, DFM will take 2 inhibitors. They may challenge the base, but those respawns coming through thick and fast. They will reset. They will get the tempo.
Let's calm down a little bit. It was a contest that Sengoku felt forced into, but this flash from Harp finding the engage multiple members of Sengoku once again.
They do manage to sweep Jet back. As Zonya's there could have made all the difference. Instead, the Sengoku frontline picked apart, Vital left alone. When all your eggs are in the AD carry basket, do remember to tuck in their seatbelt and make sure that they're with you. Otherwise, this sort of situation happens. Paz completely absent from the fight, and Ebby absolutely present.
Now for DFM, they are in a lovely position because not only have they got this Baron buff still for another 90 seconds, but once that falls off, the Ocean Drake is spawning. The timing is exceptional for our reigning champions, and they can pick up an Ocean Soul in this game as well. Then Sengoku, it becomes not unwinnable, but with the gold lead that DFM have already got for themselves, 9,000 in their favor, I'm not sure if they even need those objectives. The next fight that they get could just end the game.
Extending through that Swain ultimate, the one way out. We've seen Sengoku execute upon this game with an Ocean Soul. You may heal for more damage than he deals at the moment. With the other advantages accrued by DFM, this is a winning position for them. They do not have to commit. They should not commit, as Ebby extrudes his pressure in mid lane. The 6th man, the minions in the top side, will do the rest. Sengoku have an impossible job.
This is why the double inhib is so much more powerful than the single inhib, because with one inhib down, someone with a bit of wave clear and a bit of fighting power can match whoever's pushing against you. When you have to match 2 inhib waves coming through at the same time, you are going to be at numbers disadvantages at points. As we see 4 members of Sengoku on the bottom side of this fight, 5 members of DFM pushing through onto the inhib tower.
Moments away from an engage that could send them all the way to grand finals.
No. Once that was not the ultimate that you needed to find in this game. That's a bit better from Paz, though. The Ornhorn hitting onto 2, but no one on DFM taken out just yet. Vital still able to fire on the Zeri with the burst fires, with the lightning crashes, and oh no! Yaharong may be overstepping, but Ebby is there to back him up. Back up his boy just fine. 2 kills, 1 for Yaharong, 1 for the Ebby. The solo lanes of DFM popping off in this final fight as Sengoku are routed to the fountain.
That will be it. Your grand finalists of Detonation FocusMe.
Taxes and DFM in the LJL final, the 3 certainties of life, as they take down Sengoku and claim the series.
It's a path well traveled for Sengoku.